Messes and successes. Sometimes you never know what you're going to end up when you're gardening, especially when you're gardening in an area that is new turf, a new area for you. Hi, I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings, and last fall we had an area we had to plant up that had a lot of boxes that had to get checked with the plants that we were choosing to plant. So it had to be deer-resistant plant varieties. They had to also be drought tolerant because we were planting in essentially straight up beach sand. Also, to the garden that we were planting in had times of the day where it was in full sun, other times of the day where it was in part sun, and there were even other areas of the garden that tended to be a little bit more shade prone. So we had to kind of keep all of those in mind when we were selecting the plants for this garden. So last year when we planted, we took some of the Espoma mushroom compost. Every hole we dug, we put approximately a quarter to a half a bag of the mushroom compost into the hole and mixed it in with the native sand. And what that did is it added a little bit of nutrients into the soil, but it also added some soil in that would just hold the water just a little bit better. So that worked out really well for us. And then also, we planted varieties that we knew would be deer resistant. Also planted varieties that we knew would handle more drier conditions. And I am so happy to report back that things did very well. So because things did well, we wanted to add more into the garden beds this year. So Rod brought a bunch of things from the greenhouse that we're planting in. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at what we did this year to prep the soil to get these newly planted plants all into their new home. We brought a pallet of the Land and Sea premium compost with us, gourmet compost. And what we did is we spread the Land and Sea on top of the native soil. We just kind of sprinkled it through. And then once we got it all sprinkled through, Carter came through with a little rototiller, a little handheld rototiller, and mixed it in with the native soil. So basically it was a 50-50 mix. You've got the Land and Sea compost mixed in with the sand, and then that's just really helping to add nutrients back into this area. So that was what we did to prep it this year. And then Rod went through and did some planting of a lot of gorgeous perennials.
Hello guys, this is Rod calling from. Hello, this is Rod from Garden Crossings. And today we finished this garden, Carter and I just kind of want to explain to you how it all came about. Guys, have you ever had your wives tell you don't do something? Ladies, have you ever told your husbands not to do something? Well, I was told not to plant on this property. It's more of a vacation area, and Heidi didn't want me working here, but it's a beach sand area. I've never planted in beach sand. The challenge just awaited. So the challenge was out, and I was determined that we were going to try it. So challenge accepted.
So let's go ahead and take a look at the successes and the messes in this garden and what we have planted in mass that's just going to create a mass of color as this garden fills in. So we have the Schizachyrium brush strokes. This is a native grass, and Rod went crazy with planting this. Last fall we had a bunch of them that were left over, so he said, you know what, this is a good native grass. This will fit really good into this space in the garden. So they did very well overwintering. There's probably got 20 or so of them in here. Just a couple of them didn't come back as well as we had hoped. So he had gone ahead and brought a couple more from the greenhouse and replugged them in. So those are the ones that are fuller now. But this, as these plants mature, this whole area should be pretty much covered in grass. Grass is great for adding some height and also adding motion into the garden, especially later on in the season. Then we line the bed with Achillea or Yarrow, in beautiful purpley pink color. And this is a native plant as well that's drought tolerant and blooms usually around midsummer or so for us here. We're in Michigan, a zone, I would say a 5B, 6A where we're at right now. And this whole bed is just lined with a beautiful yarrow. So those are going to look nice midsummer. On this side of the propane tank, there is lavender, sweet romance. It's a nice drought tolerant once it's established perennial, also deer resistant because of its fragrance, and it's got nice purple blooms as the summer goes along. We have Bernera he planted in. So this is a new planting. These were not here last year. This is something that he just added in. So there's a few kind of all tucked in through the back side here of the garden. Definitely Brunnera are deer resistant with their fuzzy texture, and they have nice periwinkle blue blooms in the spring, and then the nice foliage that goes throughout the summer. We did plant a dog hobble here, and this is Paisley Pup. This actually was a plant last fall the deer took a bite of and spit it out. So they wanted it and then they didn't. So this one did struggle a little bit because it wasn't planted all winter basically. So it just kind of got replanted in there. So it is pretty small right now. So hopefully that will fill out and continue to grow. I do have 2 Chitalpa in here, El Niño. Oh, I was so excited that these came back. So they do come back from the base for us here in Michigan. And these are a lovely purple flower when they start to bloom. There's another one. If any of you watch Garden Answer, Laura talks about the El Niño and just how much she loves them in her garden as well. So we're excited to have that, and I can't wait until it starts blooming. We did add a lot of chartreuse on the back side here. We have the smoke bush. There's a nice gold one there, and then another one down yonder. And the thought with these is if we put these in the garden, they'll get just taller here than the gas tank and hopefully kind of add just a little bit of the airy feel, just blowing on top of this ugly white tank. So that's the goal. We'll see if it happens. Oh, actually, you know what? Here's another one he put in. So this is a Vitex Rock Steady. And I think we just had a random one in, so he put it in. We'll see how it does. It gets purple blooms on it. It's got nice foliage texture to it. And I think this will probably get 3, maybe 5 foot tall, depending on, once it starts getting a little older. I think it could get up to 5 foot tall. So we'll see how that one does as well. Now there is also some Aurelia Sun King that were planted here on the back side. They're pretty small right now, but again, it's adding that chartreuse foliage into the bed, which is going to pop here on this darker side of the garden. If there's any of the plants in today's video that look of interest to you and you want to get them added into your garden, you can head to our website, gardencrossings.com, and we can ship these plants directly to your door. Or if you're local to Zeeland, Michigan, or want to take a drive, we'd love to have you come visit us at our retail garden center. And while you're there, take a walk through our gardens. There's nothing better than walking through a living catalog. Making our way back to the front side of the tank, you can see put in that nice path, and that just kind of helps carry your eye through, and it makes it very welcoming, like, hey, come walk through the garden, take a seat while you're here. Lining the path, he did the lemon coral sedum, which is more that chartreuse color you're seeing, and you can see how it just kind of carries its way through that path, and it just adds in like a bright welcoming color again that says, hey, come walk and follow through the garden with me. Up against the tank, Truffula Pink Gomphrena, and you can see the deer have eaten all of the leaves off it. They left a few flowers, although they did munch some off and spit them right out. So yeah, we'll see. We'll take a bet. How long do you think he'll leave them in here? My guess is they're going to go probably the next time he's here with some flowers. But time will tell. We will see. But I'm definitely thinking this is not going to be okay with him. We do have some Steady Eddie Viburnum that were planted, and these are pretty small right now. They're like literally only inches tall. There's 3 of them planted along here, and these will have nice lace cap blooms. The nice thing with Steady Eddie is it blooms for a good portion of the summer. This one here didn't come back super great, so we'll see how they do. There's enough green on them. We don't want to dig them out. The saying is, with plants, the first year they sleep, the second year they creep, and the last year they leap. So really we got to give them 3 years to give them a fair chance. Oh, we did also plant some new euphorbia. This is the Urge to Splurge euphorbia. There's 3 of them, one on either side of the bench, and then another here down the pathway. And these bloom usually in May. Then they get like a orangey berry on them. And then in the fall, they get beautiful fall foliage color. So 3 seasons of interest with the euphorbia Urge to Splurge. Now this was a little surprising pocket in the garden. So we planted some Agastache or hyssop last fall with no intentions of it coming back. This is zone 7. So realistically, this should not have overwintered here in the bed. But all but one of them came back. And I love Agastache because the hummingbirds and the butterflies love it. And there's a lot of different colors. So we've got all the different colors in here. So once it starts blooming, it's long blooming as well. So that's gonna look really pretty. Also lining this bed, he did some dianthus. This is the Paint the Town dianthus, which usually blooms for us in May. And then when it's done blooming, it still does some what I like to call like spitter spatter flowers, meaning, you know, just a few flowers here and there. So it's not like it's full bloom and then nothing. We still get a little bit of bloom throughout the summer. And then also you'll see some of the Senecio angel wings, that silver plant. He has those kind of tucked throughout the bed too. So that way it just kind of carries your eye as you're walking, and you'll see one, and then you'll see another one, and then, oh, hey, there's some more in the back there. So it kind of carries you through the garden. Behind the bench, he has Nepeta cat's pajamas, a mass planting of cat's pajamas. He did plant a few of the Salvia unplugged white in here as well, which is an annual. So that'll give kind of a blue and white presence when they all start blooming. But Nepeta is nice because it blooms all summer long. So it's just a long blooming, hardworking perennial. On the other side of the tank is more of the lavender. So on both sides, you'll have big mass plantings of lavender going on. At the back of the bed, we have 2 cypress. We've got the polar gold. And ideally, as these mature and get bigger, they're going to fill in this whole back area, creating kind of a wall of chartreuse, which will be really vibrant and nice and bright to this dark, shady corner. He did groupings of Tiarella. Tiarella's got great foliage and white flowers, so there's groupings of 3. And then he's got 2. And then over here in the corner, he's got 3 more. So kind of just clumpings of those, creating that mass look. Now I did ask him to plant some thalictrum in here, cotton ball, because I'd seen that in the trial gardens and I loved how those plants looked. So he did put some in. These will be blooming usually in May, but they'll get about 3 to 4 foot tall and have these big white plumes at the top. So we've got 3 of them in here, so it'll just kind of give a boom, boom, boom look through the garden. All right, what else? Oh, so many beautiful things. And we tried a lot of things we haven't grown before too, such as this. This is Abelia. This is Tres Amigos. I think he's got 5 or 6 planted in here. These are evergreen and nice variegated foliage. They'll get white flowers on them when they start to bloom. Some of them did better than others as far as coming back, and I'll show you that here in a minute. We've got a spot on, nice variegated foliage, pink and blue flowers when it blooms. There's a few of those tucked in. Those are early spring bloomers, so that will add some spring color into this bed. And then along the foundation, there is a whole bunch of the double play doozy spirea. So last year they kind of did a little bit not great, and that's because he didn't have enough water on them and they got a little crispy, but they came back pretty good. And they should continue to put on growth as the summer goes along and just really fill this out and kind of cover the base here of the building. Also, we've got some Pennisetum fireworks grass, which is annual grass, beautiful red variegation going on. And he just added those in just to add a little color to the space until those spirea start to bloom. Also, too, they're going to add nice interest in the fall when they get taller and the plumes are blowing in the breeze. Grass is just, it's an important staple when you're putting a garden together because they just add so much motion into the garden. Now I did mention that one of the Abelia didn't come back good, and that's what it looks like. But again, we're going to leave it here. Got to give it 3 years to sleep, creep, and leap. And I think this one will be a leaper once it has some time to do so. Pennisetum, he planted some more Pennisetum here on the back side of the generator. And here's some more as well. You can see it's blooming with its purple blooms. So that's a great plant for the hummingbirds. So that was a lot of thought too, is, okay, what plants can we plant that the hummingbirds and butterflies are going to really enjoy? Just creating a little oasis for them. The Treasure Trove Rudbeckia, these are going to have beautiful yellow daisies on it when they start blooming. We chose the Treasure Trove because it has excellent resistance to black spots. So you know how a lot of times your Rudbeckia get those black spots all in them and they get dark leaves and they look really kind of ugly by the time they're ready to bloom. These should stay clean, so we will update you on that. But they're going to have nice yellow flowers and just add a really cheery look here in this garden. Again, mass planting there around that bird feeder that we just put in. We have some Itea. Itea is another native, Fizzy Mizzy. There's a couple of them in there. So those will get about 3 foot tall when they're mature and have nice white bottle brush blooms. This side of the garden too, he lined it with some more of the Dianthus, Paint the Town. And that's just going to be a really beautiful border color when it's all in bloom. Now this was a plant I was kind of shocked with. This is Coreopsis. I like Coreopsis. It's long blooming, but I can never grow Coreopsis at home. So there's 3 different colors of it here, and it came back beautifully. So these should be blooming pretty much throughout the summer. If they stop blooming, we'll give them a deadhead, trim some of those old spent blooms off, and they'll just continue to bloom as the summer goes on. He also did another mass planting of Salvia and Serendipity, Allium. He asked if he should plant like one big grouping of all the Salvia and then all the Allium together. And I told him to kind of intermix them. I says that way when the Salvia is blooming, it's kind of, you know, we can spread it out a little further. And then by mixing in the Allium, when the Salvia is done, then the Allium will be blooming. So that will also give this area kind of a longer span of color by mixing those colors and those varieties together. So that will be fun. It's always hard when you show a first year garden because, you know, there's just not a lot of color. There's a lot of potential, but there's not always a lot of color. And then the last plants I want to talk about are Caryopteris. Caryopteris beyond midnight. These are shrubs. They do typically die back to the ground for us here in Michigan, but they are a must-have, especially if you're looking to create a garden for the pollinators. In the fall, they get gorgeous blue blooms and are just loaded with butterflies. I'm going to put up some footage of last year. Rod no more than had these planted in the ground, and within minutes, the monarch butterflies and the hummingbirds were just all over them. So when you're creating a garden, you know, you want to think of all the seasons, especially if you're looking for pollinators, is how do I have something that's always in bloom in a garden space from early spring through summer and into fall, be it color, be it foliage, or just be it the interest of what the plant does in the garden. Does it add motion? Does it add some columnar height? What does it do? So think about that when you're creating a new garden space, what you can plant that will give you color from start to finish. Thank you for walking through the garden with me tonight. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. And if you're new to our channel, I welcome you to subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.